آیا میخواید بدانید بهترین کانال فارسی زبان یوتیوب چیست؟ شما دقیقاً داخلش هستید. بهترین کانال یوتیوب فارسی زبان. Oh my god. Yes.
سلام بچه‌ها، خوش اومدین اسم TEOS و برگشتیم با یه پارت دیگه از داستانای واقعنی که بیشترین و محبوب ترین ویدیوهایی که تو کانال منه و مثل که خیلی خوشتون میاد و منم مجبورم همینجوری ادامهش بدم تا وقتی که بدتون میاد. و قبل از شروع یادتون نره که حتما این ویدیو رو لایک کنین. لایک کردن خیلی مهمه، با اینکه یوتیوب میپرونه ولی شما لایک. این صندلی من چرا قد صدا میده؟ 10 بار از اون موقع دارم اینترو ضبط کنم این همش قش قش قش. و بریم شروع کنیم.
Hey, I'm Marissa, and I've been watching Share My Story for the last few weeks. And today, I want to tell you my story of how I lost one half of my brain. Jesus. I was a completely normal girl until the age of 3. But then I had my first seizure, and I can still remember riding in the ambulance to get to the hospital. Unfortunately, the seizures didn't stop, and at one point I was having seizures every 5 minutes.
Holy Jesus.
The doctors diagnosed me with Rameson's encephalitis.
چجوریه تشنج؟ کامنت حتما ببین. کامنت بذارید.
It's a rare inflammatory neurological disease which affects only one half of the brain. The doctors gave me all kinds of medicine to treat it, but nothing worked. And because the seizures kept me from falling asleep, I was close to death after a few days. That's why my parents allowed the doctors to cut out the affected area, which meant I'd lose half of my brain. Obviously, my parents were very worried about brain damage, but I was lucky. Because I was so young, my brain was still growing and developing. So even though I only had one half left, my brain was able to adapt and reorganize itself.
Nice.
After the operation, the seizures stopped. And these days, the only signs of what happened are that I don't have much control over my right upper body.
Shit.
School was hard though. I find it tough to focus for long, and it took me years to learn how to read and write. I remember watching.
مثل سی پی یو میمونه دیگه، چون من چند وقت خیلی درگیر اینم که سی پی یو چی بخرم. دقیقا مثل میمونه، سر ادیت کردن خیلی طول میکشه تا یاد بگیری ادیت کنی، رندرش خیلی طول میکشه. اینم همینجوری یاد گرفتم. چی مثالایی میزنم؟ واو.
Other kids doing things like playing on the swings or chasing each other, and I'd be sad because I couldn't join in. My parents didn't have it easy either. I had lots of mood swings growing up, and sometimes I even threw scissors and forks at them because whenever I was angry, I lost all my self-control. The doctors explained it by saying that my prefrontal cortex was still damaged by the brain operation I had as a 3-year-old kid. But despite
شما سواری ازم بازم باید خوشحال باشی دکترت تو بیمارستان اینجا عمل نشدی. ایمالا قیچی جا میذاشت تو مغزت.
my many flaws, I'm always trying my best to be a positive person. I'm constantly joking and I always have a smile on my face. That's because I know how lucky I am to be alive, even though I lost half my brain. Today I'm 28 and married to the man who I love very much. I also play the violin in my spare time, although I'm not very good at it. Many years ago, I dreamed of becoming a nurse so I could help others the way the doctors helped me. Unfortunately, I can't control my right arm, so I've been told I wouldn't be able to pursue that profession. But instead, I became a part-time cleaner at our local hospital, and I also volunteered to spend time with patients who need someone to talk to. Recently, one of my former classmates was hospitalized. She was one of the girls that made fun of me back in middle school. She always said I was too dumb to be considered a hero.
من یه چیز نمیدونم واقعا این چیه تو دبیرستان خارجی، مدرسه خارجی اینجوری هم دیگر مسخره میکنن؟ چون من تا حالا مسخره نشدم توسط دوستام. شاید هم شدم خودم خر بودم متوجه نمیشدم. نمیدونم.
Her comments made me feel very insecure about myself. But that didn't keep me from going into her room to clean it. When she saw me, she said, "Oh, Marissa, you're working as a cleaner now. That's great." I know she looks down on me, but I don't mind.
Nice. منم یه زمانی کار میکردم دوست رفیقم بعضیاشون یعنی دوستای دورم بودن ولی بازم میامدن به صورت تمسخرآمیز به بنده نگاه shut the fuck up بعدا اصلا برام مهم نبود.
I'm giving my best every day, especially when I'm taking care of my son, Doyle. He is 4 years old now and perfectly healthy.
Nice.
I just wanted to say how grateful I am to be alive. If it wasn't for the doctors who operated on me, I wouldn't be alive today. And if I'd been born 200 years ago, people would have confused my seizures with me being possessed by a demon. I'm so lucky. Never forget that this could be your last day on Earth. You might suffer a stroke tomorrow and be gone in an instant. Don't waste your time complaining. I mean, I could spend all day thinking about what I can't do because of my brain damage. But instead, I just spend time with the people I love and who love me back. I have a simple but good life, and that's all that matters to me. Thank you for listening to my story. Please subscribe to this channel for more animated stories.
بله دقیقا همین کانال منو میگه. خب خوبه یه داستان آموزنده بود این داستانش خوب بود مثل داستان قبلی تو پارت قبلی نبود. بخواد برلینه تو حسابمون نشت.
No greater love than a mother's for her child. So imagine how you would feel if your baby was accidentally switched at birth and you had raised someone else's baby for 5 years, loving it as if it was your own. Would you keep the child you had? Or would you want to swap it for your biological child? That was the dilemma I faced 1 year ago. One day, a woman from the government came to my home. She said we had something important to discuss, and that's when she told me my daughter wasn't my daughter. At first, I got angry and told her to shut up, but she proceeded to explain that my child had accidentally been switched at birth, and that my daughter wasn't my biological child. My heart dropped, and I felt like a little piece of me died. But deep down, I knew that she was telling the truth, because when I gave birth, I was sure my baby was a boy. However, he needed special care, so the doctors took him away from me to treat him, and I didn't have time to take a good look at him. The next day, when I saw my baby again, it was suddenly a girl.
شنبولشو بریدن دخترش کردن آوردن. What the fuck یعنی متوجه نشدی؟ نتونستم درست نگاش کنم میگن دختره یا پسره من اصلا گفتم پسره خب حالا بفهمین یه دختر تحویل شما. What the fuck
I asked if there had been a mix-up but everyone told me I was crazy and the nurses even laughed at me saying I was silly and confused. In the end, I figured I had seen things wrong because of the drugs I'd been on while giving birth. The test showed that neither he nor the mother were the girl's parents. So they figured that some of the babies at the hospital must have been switched by mistake.
اینجا استاپ کنین. این تکه رو تو کپشنش که داشت داستان رو نوشته بود الان من دیدم یه تکه رو کلا ویدیو ازش درست نکردن و این تکه مثل که بابا رفته دی ان ای بچه‌شو گرفته چون اصلا این شبیش نبوده و دیده دی ان ایشو گرفته بچه اونا نبوده و پیگیر شدن و دیدن که بچه‌ها قاطی شدن و این ادامش بوده.
That's why I had to do a DNA test to confirm that I was the mother of the other child, and it came back positive, which means that I'd been caring for the wrong little girl all these years. The first time I met my biological son, I'll be honest, I didn't feel anything for him. He was just another kid. I wanted to keep my daughter, the one I'd loved and cared for over the past 5 years. We were really close, and it broke my heart to think of being parted from her. My biological son felt the same way. He begged his mother to not send him to live with me. But then the problem started. The other family wanted to switch the kids back. I refused because I didn't care about whose DNA my daughter has. And in the end, the case went to court. Unfortunately, the court decided in the other family's favor. So my daughter lives with her biological parents now, while I'm taking care of my biological son. I don't think words can describe the pain of having your daughter taken away. I cried for days and felt like I'd never get over it. The only good thing is that the courts agreed I could visit her once a week, so we still have a relationship. However, as hard as it was for me, it was far worse for my daughter to be given to the other family. She screamed and cried when they took her away, even though I told her we would see each other soon. It's been a year since I got my biological son back, and although it took a while, I do love him now, as I loved my daughter. The truth is, I love both my children and always will. I wish I could have both of them with me. But sometimes life is tragic, and you lose the person you care about the most.
Nice.
I have a friend whose son went to Afghanistan for many years and didn't come back.
Oh shit.
She believes he's still alive and out there somewhere in the desert, because it's too painful for her to accept the truth. I fully understand what she's going through, and I guess I'm lucky, because at least I can still see my daughter once a week. Thank you for listening to my story.
داستان غم انگیزی بود بابا. what the fuck. داستان جنجالی میخوام.
همه دنبال جنجالن، اون دنبال یه جرقه است.
Hey, I'm Patricia, and recently we had Spirit Week at our high school, which means we had to dress up to a certain theme like Pajama Day or Nerd Day. But I didn't participate. Why? I was just too lazy. But my English teacher, Mr. Snape, who had always hated me, said, "Oh, Patricia, why don't you participate in Spirit Week? You're ruining the fun." Why was he picking on me again? I responded, "Don't annoy me." To which he responded, "I see you're too scared to put on a costume and express yourself." What? Scared? Me? No. I just didn't like wearing costumes. But fine. I was willing to prove him wrong. I went to this shop where they sold very revealing costumes and cosplays. I chose a pirate costume, and it was so short, it was almost like a bikini.
Holy Jesus.
The next day, we had our English exam with Mr.
No,
Snape,
okay, no
and
pushing
it was
me.
perfect. I came 5 minutes too late,
Oh,
like always.
shit.
But when Mr. Snape saw me,
the
he
hell?
said, "What the hell?" I said, "Ugh, cadet, step aside." He responded, "Get out of my classroom. You're dressed like a whore." I responded, "You said I was too scared to express myself, so here's my response." He told me again, "Get out." And I responded, "Nope."
You?
Then he said, "Fine, you are suspended for the rest of the week." And I responded, "Sounds great. Then I don't have to come to your boring classes anymore." I acted cool, but actually, I was shocked. I just wanted to provoke my teacher a bit. But now I was suspended, and I didn't even know what that meant. I ended up calling up my dad and told him what Mr. Snape had done to me. My father always has a hot temper, so he got angry and said he'd come over right now. I thought he would support me, but when he saw me, he freaked out and screamed, "What are you wearing?" I said, "It's Spirit Week, calm down."
بابا کی تو مدرسه همچین لباسی میپوشه؟
Father said, "You look like you were working for a pimp. That's not how my daughter walks around. I'm glad they suspended you. Now you can't embarrass yourself anymore." Thanks, Dad. And to make things worse, I had to make up the English exam I had missed, and Mr. Snape put much harder questions on that exam.
Really?
So I failed it terribly and got an F. That was a big problem because it meant I'd have to repeat the year. But I went to my principal and told him how Mr. Snape had put harder questions on my made-up exam. He said, "Yeah, this isn't the first time he's done that." And then he said, "You'll get one more chance."
شهریور بیا.
But this time, I studied a lot and somehow managed to get a C- on my exam. I guess that next time, I'll simply not get into any stupid fights with any of my immature teachers.
یه خورده حداقل این داستانش جنجالی بود ولی با چه عقلی با اون لباس اومده تو مدرسه. خب بچه‌ها امیدوارم خوشتون اومده باشه. از این قسمت لایک و کامنت و نظراتتون حتما فراموش نشه لایک کنین پلیز. دکمه لایک را با آتش بکشانید. اصلا نمیدونم قرار چه لایکی اینجا آتیش بزنم ولی همینجوری دارم میگم ان شاء الله که میتونم تو ادیت درستش کنم. دمتون گرم که تا اینجا همراه من بودین و تا قسمت بعدی خدا یاره نگهدار شما.